Something gigantic has just exploded behind the scenes in the NFL, and Los Angeles is at the center of it all. An unprecedented move, a signing that no one expected, and which has already left players, insiders, and fans on high alert. But hold on, before revealing all the details of this bombshell that's about to explode, then leave a like, subscribe to the channel, and activate the bell, because I'm going to follow every step, every update, and every twist in this story. Now take a deep breath. It's no secret to anyone. The Chargers' first 2 seasons under Jim Harbaugh fell far short of expectations. The team reached the playoffs but exited in the worst possible way. There were 2 losses, one against the Houston Texans and another against the New England Patriots, games where the offense simply didn't show up, where Justin Herbert, the franchise quarterback, seemed to fight alone without the necessary weapons to compete at a high level. And Harbaugh understood the message. The first major action came with impact. Greg Roman was fired, a clear message to the roster and the entire league. Things couldn't go on like this. Under Roman, the Chargers' offensive scheme seemed rigid, predictable, and uncreative. Even with complex concepts, the available talent was never fully exploited. Herbert didn't play freely. The offense didn't scare opposing defenses. But now, everything could change. And here's the key point. Jesse Minter's departure to the Baltimore Ravens took McDaniel out of one of the head coaching positions he was still competing for, making Los Angeles an extremely realistic destination. Despite a turbulent end with the Miami Dolphins, no one questions his offensive genius. McDaniel is recognized as one of the best scheme architects in the league, capable of creating dynamic, creative, and difficult-to-defend offenses. Now that's in Justin Herbert's hands. But McDaniel's arrival brings another very important domino effect. Frank Smith could return to the Chargers. Smith left the franchise in 2022 precisely to work with McDaniel in Miami. If the two reunite in Los Angeles, the offensive line could experience an immediate leap in quality. With McDaniel designing plays and Smith strengthening the trenches, the Chargers could experience a true offensive renaissance as early as 2026. But it's not all good news. The departure of Jesse Minter is undoubtedly the Chargers' biggest concern right now. He wasn't just the defensive coordinator, but the true brain of the unit, directly responsible for raising the level of the defense in recent years. Under his command, the Chargers finished 2 consecutive seasons among the top 10 defenses in the NFL in points allowed, including an impressive first place in 2024. In 2025, even with challenges throughout the year, the team still finished the season as the 5th best in the league in yards allowed. Losing a name with that impact naturally hurts, and Jim Harbaugh knows this very well. For this reason, the franchise has already begun to move aggressively behind the scenes. A day after being fired by the new Tennessee Titans coach, Robert Saleh, Leonard Wilson officially became one of the candidates for the Chargers' defensive coordinator position, and the team has already confirmed that they interviewed him. Wilson has direct connections to the Harbaugh family, having worked with John Harbaugh on the Baltimore Ravens in 2023 as a defensive backs coach, an experience that paved the way for him to assume the role of defensive coordinator for the Titans in the 2024 and 2025 seasons. However, the numbers from his work in Tennessee are divisive. In his first year, the Titans' defense finished only 30th in points allowed, but at the same time, it was the 2nd best defense in the NFL in total defense, showing a clear contrast between production and efficiency. In 2025, there was a drop in performance, with the unit ranking 28th and 21st in different defensive metrics, a performance that ultimately cost him his job. Even so, Wilson's resume carries considerable weight. At 43 years old, he has coached the Rams, Jets, Eagles, Ravens, and Titans, and played a key role in the Eagles' 2022 campaign, serving as the defensive passing coordinator for a team that finished with the best pass defense in the league and reached the Super Bowl. Even with this scenario, there is an internal name gaining increasing traction within the organization: Steve Clinkscale. Currently the Chargers' defensive backs coach, Clinkscale worked directly with Jesse Minter for 4 years, 2 in Michigan and 2 in Los Angeles. Because of his deep understanding of the system and concepts used, he is seen as the most capable person to replicate the scheme that has been so successful recently. The expectation behind the scenes is that Jim Harbaugh will choose to promote him to the position of defensive coordinator, and, if that happens, and Leonard Wilson may still join the coaching staff in another role. With that, the Chargers could navigate this defensive transition much more solidly than it seems at first glance. But the next issue could completely change this scenario. After a simply disastrous 5-12 season in 2025, the Washington Commanders officially entered rebuilding mode. The season was marked by instability, changes in the coaching staff, and a roster that clearly didn't respond on the field. Given this scenario, the front office understands that it will be necessary to start practically from scratch, and this opens up a huge opportunity in the market for other attentive franchises, especially the Chargers. According to PFF, one of the strongest names to appear in trade rumors is Daron Payne, a defensive lineman who was once seen as a pillar of Washington's defense. Payne's performance has declined in recent seasons, especially after the firing of former defensive coordinator Joe Witt, and regardless of who takes over the defense in 2026, the internal perception is that Payne has become a negotiable asset in the rebuilding process. Even with the drop in production, Payne remains a respected name in the league. Off-field controversies weigh heavily, such as the episode in which he punched Amon-Ra St. Brown in the 2025 season, resulting in a suspension, but this doesn't erase the fact that he is still a solid player in the trenches, with physical strength, experience, and the ability to make an immediate impact. A first-round pick in the 2018 draft, former Alabama player, and 2022 Pro Bowler, Payne is still competitive and far from being a player in irreversible decline, and this is exactly where the Los Angeles Chargers come in. Since Poona Ford left for the Rams, the defensive line has never managed to maintain the same level. Teair Tart and Deshaun Hand had occasional moments, but they couldn't fill the void left by Ford. Even with a possible return of Khalil Mack, it's clear that this alone won't solve the problem. The defense urgently needs help in the middle of the line. The Chargers literally need to save this defense. Payne would fit almost perfectly in this context. Dominant presence in the interior, ability to absorb blocks, create space for edge players, and pressure the pocket from the center. Alongside Tart, if his contract is renewed, he could cause constant havoc in the middle of the opposing offensive line, something the Chargers have sorely missed in recent seasons. This is the time to be aggressive. The franchise can no longer watch impact players go to the market or strengthen rivals without reacting. Bold moves are exactly what separates mediocre teams from real contenders. What seemed like a completely chaotic scenario just 2 weeks ago is now slowly starting to take shape. Jim Harbaugh is calmly but confidently putting the pieces together. A new offensive brain to unlock Justin Herbert. Defensive continuity combined with possible strategic reinforcements. A big name on the radar, capable of raising the level of the defense. If the draft and free agency are well executed, the Chargers can indeed dream of the Super Bowl again. Nothing is guaranteed, but the path is beginning to take shape much more clearly, and that's exactly why the next few days could be decisive for the Chargers' future. Big moves are on the radar, important decisions are being made behind the scenes, and every detail can completely change the course of the franchise. If you want to stay up to date with real information and unfiltered analysis, like this video now, subscribe to the channel and activate the bell. This greatly helps the channel grow and ensures you don't miss any updates. The offseason is just beginning, and the Chargers promise to be protagonists.